got some things we could talk about. Chop it up, chop it, chop it, chop it, chop it, chop it up, chop it up, chop it up, chop it. We got some things we could talk about. Come to the show, we about to chop it up. Come to the show, we got some things we could talk about. Come to the show, we about to chop it up. Come to the show, we got some things we could talk about. Chop it up, chop it, chop it, chop it, chop it up, chop it. We got some things we could talk about. Chop it up, chop it, chop it, chop it up, chop it up, chop it. We got some things we could talk about.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Chop Shop. I'm your host, Pastor Marvin McKenstry Jr. Always excited, delighted, and grateful that God allows us to be able to come to you every Thursday at 6 p.m. and bring you good quality kingdom content. That's right, y'all. We made our shift in October. We have been talking to leaders in the kingdom, and I'm excited about this conversation tonight as we're going to be talking to a great friend of this show and a great friend of our ministry, a warrior woman, a great leader in the kingdom of God, and somebody who has been as the young folks would say, making great moves in the city. That's going to be the one and only Bishop Dr. Lisa Weah. I don't know if the doctor go before the bishop or the bishop go before the doctor. Y'all know I'm still learning, but either one don't matter to her. She's just about that life of producing kingdom results. But before we get to that, as always, I got to bring on my right hand and my left hand, my main man, Mr. Shaka on the ones and twos, making the magic happen behind the scenes. Techniques 1200s, because anything else is undignified. Bro, you wasn't with me last week. I didn't feel it as bad as the only one other time you wasn't here. The only other one that time you wasn't here, we had no intro countdown, no theme music. Like we was just, bro, we was just.
I left you a little bit better.
Yeah, last week you set me up pretty nice, man, pretty nice. But man, you had some big time stuff you was doing. Why don't you let the people know what you had going on, man?
Oh yeah, man. So Black People Ride Bikes did a joint endeavor with Morgan State University. So they had their football game versus Delaware State University, and they were 0 whatever before then. But Black People Ride Bikes showed up with about 15 people on bikes out now. It was like 40-something degrees. I had my hottie toddy going, and Morgan pulled off their first ESPN win. How about that?
Whoa!
How about that?
Look, it's crazy because when I got off of that, we had a board meeting with Weah, us, and one of the brothers that's on the board was over there live at the game and had just checked in the meeting. And man, they was riding him bad. But guess what? Morgan got that win. One for the hometown.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Look, I'm all about hometown sports, man. I'm excited about this game we got going on tonight. But man, we got to talk about this shot. Shock, they going hard on the ATM machines, brother. Forgive me for laughing, audience. But I just think it's interesting, like, when you heard one or two, because this ain't a new phenomenon totally. We didn't see some of this, but, man, they didn't got off the hook with it where it's just happening everywhere you look. Like, it's a, man, Shock, they going and driving the cars and trucks into the building, trying to get the ATM. Man.
And the sad thing about it, Marv, they doing all that for how much money in the ATM machine?
Like, so I got a good friend that owns some ATMs, and I talked to him, and he said, because his stuff he set up at events, it's not really stores. So he said he would put $10,000 into the machine for a particular event, and based on the fees and stuff, the dispensing of the cash for an event, if all $10,000 was gone, based on how the fees work, he'd be lucky if he makes $700-800. So it's not a business where he was making a lot of money, but you can get you 10 stacks if you catch one of them things full. I'm assuming. I don't know if it hold more.
Listen, man. I doubt the 7-Eleven or the Royal Farms around the way, or even not. I'm sorry, Marv. The 612, right?
The 612, right. Because if they was doing it, I don't think they can still continue to put 10 stacks in there the way people go. And look, the crazy thing is, the one I heard about most recently, they went up in a CQ. They went and got a CQ joint. So they went after the credit union.
Wow.
Yeah, man, they going hard for paint, brother.
Wow.
And again, I'm not laughing. I
That
don't
is
advocate
craziness.
for any
I've seen the
crime
videos, Marv.
after
I've seen the videos. It's savage. Like they going up in there like they treat them ATMs bad. Like they brutalize them.
Yeah, and then they drag them down the street in some cases. You know what I'm
They
saying?
doing them bad, Marv. They
Man,
doing them bad,
it's bad.
man.
It's bad. It's bad. Listen, y'all, that's just another thing that we got to put on the prayer list, man, because somebody is in a real bad way when they got to go out there. That's another one of them quality of life crimes, trying to get it come up and try and get it the wrong way. So we want to pray for them, and we want to pray for these business owners, man. That stuff have a tendency to hit your insurance hard. But let's go ahead and shift to these church announcements, because I'm excited to get to this show with this great woman of God.
Real quick, I want to say hello to everyone that's saying hello to me, Sister Ella, Sister Erica.
All right.
So just want to say hey, and hey, Mom. So let's get into these announcements.
So, man, as always, we got to Stop the Beef hotline. We are excited that the men of We Are Us are still making moves, man. This is probably the least publicized. I may be the only person that's authorized to talk about it. But the Stop the Beef hotline is one where we go and we're going out and we're intervening in situations, whether it means us spending some money to be able to buy back somebody's life, to have somebody travel away from a situation maybe real hot for them, or whatever it takes, we get it done. So if you see somebody or you know somebody that's in that situation, or if you yourself, dial 443-431-3705. There's always a man on the other end of that line that's going to answer, and we're going to do our best to intervene and make sure that we save a life. With that being said, we still out in the streets with the Baltimore Peace Agreement. This is a 10-point plan that was crafted with people like myself who used to be out there and people who still 10 toes down trying to figure out some solutions. And what we're getting people to do is to sign off on this because it says some things. It's an actual oath, a creed, and it says some things. And each of those things that it says, we try to hold each other accountable for. This 10-point plan literally says, even if you got to eat in the streets, you ain't got to die out here or kill out here in these streets. Next up, we got a community engagement walk coming up this Saturday. Going to start at 5010 Park Heights at the Lord's Church, where the very fine bishop is my main man, Bishop Kevin Elliott. Called me today to wish me a happy birthday. I'm excited about this upcoming Saturday because it's going to be a little bit of everything that we have done. Food, resources, everything. Listen, man, if you're a man, we need you to come on out and join us on Saturday. Our Saturday walks are open to everybody. The sisters can even come out and be a part of these outreach and engagement opportunities. We try to make a difference in the community. Let's keep it rolling. If you are looking for a job, we are looking for you. The Mayor's Office of Employment Development is building a workforce system that works. We are literally, listen, y'all, I can't say it enough. We are overwhelmed with more businesses and jobs than we have people to put in them. You don't see me posting as much as I used to because I have been elevated in my position. But even in my elevation, I can tell you, we have more jobs than we have people to put in them. We put together a PowerPoint yesterday for something we did with Baltimore City Public Schools. The Mayor's Office of Employment Development has some in-person and virtual events that are going to be coming up, and you will see it on my Facebook page. So stay tuned and make sure that anybody you know that's looking for a job, tell them that we are looking for them. Another community engagement walk Monday at Liberty Elementary School. Y'all know our Mondays are night walks, and we want only men to come out to those. And listen, y'all, it's not about saying women are inadequate or insufficient, but we try to keep our queens safe. So the men go out at night because we're targeting neighborhoods where there's a major need. We're going to be at Liberty Elementary School, which is at Main Avenue, 3901 Main Avenue. And if you know anything about that, that's back up in the cut. We're going to be coming through there, coming down, coming out, trying to make sure that we can hit that Liberty Heights Garrison, that community where there's a great need. Make sure if you're a man, you come out and join us for that. All right. Is that the last of the announcement? Oh, no, absolutely not. November the 19th, 2021 at 3820 South Hanover Street in Baltimore, there's going to be a panel discussion that is the topic of it is gun violence. Why do our youth carry guns? Man, listen, this is a proactive approach. They're not asking why they killing. They're not asking why they getting killed. They're going to have a conversation that tries to understand why our young people are carrying these guns in the first place. And when you talk about having a panel of credible messengers, we got Dr. Andre Bunley, who is the director of that Mayor's Office of African American Male Engagement. My man E.B., the founder, Eric Brown, the founder of the Peace Organization. My man Tyrone Powers, Dr. Tyrone Powers, former FBI agent, CEO of the Powers Consulting Group. Then we got my man Coy, my man Big Coy. If you know anything about Safe Streets, you know Big Coy. He's the director of Safe Streets Brooklyn. And we got my man Captain Andrew Muhammad, captain of the Fruit of Islam for Muhammad Mosque number 6 and of Baltimore Brothers. If you're a man, you got a young man, or you just want to be able to do this, it's being put on by the United Black Clergy, which is in partnership with Kingdom Life Church Apostolic, Safe Streets, Brooklyn. And they're going to be making this thing happen. We're going to keep talking about it until it actually happens. Yours truly will be in the building. All right. With that being said, I got 2 more things that I got to say. I got to send a shout out to all. Thank you. I'm getting to that part. I got to send a shout out to all of the people who have served and defended this country. I myself put my time in the United States Army. I don't care. Look at my son. I don't care what your politics is. The people who courageously go and put their lives on the line to defend the principles of freedom that this country has been founded on, whether you believe the freedom is real or not, we got to celebrate them. And today, on Veterans Day, we give a salute to everybody. I served. My man Shaka served. And at that time when you were out there, a whole bunch of the stuff that we debate and stuff that we go back and forth over didn't matter, because it was about making sure that your life was not taken in the heat of battle, making sure that you had the next man covered who was covering you. So salute to all of our military service people out there. And today is yours truly birthday. Come on, y'all, make some noise. Y'all know the song. Say, if it's your birthday, make some noise. I'm 47 years old today. I'm excited in the Lord that he's allowed me to see 47 years. I got a testimony where some folks told me I wasn't going to live to see 18. And God knows they wasn't being mean. They were just looking at the path of life that I had chosen and some of the things that I chose to do. So I'm grateful today that through wars in these streets, gunshot wounds, stab wounds, prison time, and all of that, God has blessed me to not only just survive, but to be living the best life possible. So I want to give God all the praise right here live on the air for allowing me to see 47 years of life today. I'm just grateful for everybody who have sent a Facebook shout out, a text message, a phone call. I love you all. And guess what, Shaq? Run my Cash App. That's right. Hit my Cash App. I see people do it all the time. I laugh and joke, but hit the Chop Shop Be More. If you're going to do anything and donate to something that's worthwhile and something that's making a difference. So donate to the show Cash App, and we going, let's get it. Yeah. Happy birthday. Yeah. Come on, y'all. If you out there, put some hearts up. Put some thumbs up. Come on, so put them up for my birthday, y'all. Come on. All right, we got to get to the show. I don't know what. Shock tripping, because, you know, he was supposed to play that version of that to start with. If it's your birthday, I'm from Baltimore. Play the Be More version. All right, we'll close the show out with that one. All right, we close the show. Listen, y'all, I'm just happy. I'm happy. I had some wonderful, beautiful friends that celebrated me with a beautiful lunchtime today. I've been hearing from some great people who love me genuinely today, and I'm excited about the Lord and what he's doing. And listen, I got another thing I'm really excited about 10 feet away from me right now. My grandmother is sitting in the living room on a chase for probably the last 3 months. If my grandmother was out of her bedroom, she was at a hospital. And the last couple of days, she's been getting up out the bed, walking from her bedroom to the living room and spending her days awake, not sleeping a day away. So come on, man. I give God praise, glory, to continue to see his healing power at work in my grandmother's life. Y'all can't see her. I won't let y'all see her because her hairdresser is on the way right now to get her right. But I'm just so excited. Whoa, there go my brother calling me out. And Shaka, you gonna post it. He terrible. He is terrible, but you ain't lying. Look, I went and turned back time a little bit. All right, y'all. Put some hearts up, put some thumbs up, and let's get to this conversation. I am excited tonight because this is a friend, like I said, of our ministry, a friend of Baltimore, a leader in God's kingdom par excellence. It's just a multitude of things I can say about this great woman of God. But I think the thing I'm most impressed with is in all of that, she's just available and accessible. She's a willing vessel, whether it's in the streets of Baltimore. And y'all know I don't give everybody credit for that because that ain't everybody's testimony. But for her, she's available for the city and the streets of Baltimore with the great work that her church continues to do down in the Sandtown, Winchester community. Even when displaced by fire, they made sure that their presence was still placed in the community until the repairs were done and they could come back. She's a friend of this show. She's lent her voice, her wisdom, and all of the great things about her to this platform on many occasions. And tonight, I'm hoping that we get a chance to return the favor. We are talking to, and I'm talking about the one and only Bishop Dr. Lisa Weah, the author of the great book, Leading with a Left Hand. Dr. Weah, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm excited to have you. I got to get an updated picture because somehow you done found a fountain of youth and you look about 15 years younger. I just found me some Just for Men and try to take some years off, but you genuinely look like you aging in reverse.
Man, I turned 50 this year and I am loving it. Yes.
Oh my God.
It's wonderful.
Let me tell you, this age thing will bring you to a level of consciousness. I called one of my good friends and former boxing coaches and told him I'm coming down to gym on Monday because I'm way more conscious to the reality that I got to take care of myself. And you look like you taking really good care of yourself. And we're excited to have you back on the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
When I
and
saw,
happy birthday.
Thank you. I wish we had Shaka, I wish we had a little thing where every time somebody says happy birthday, we can play If It's Your Birthday, make some noise. I'm in a little bit of a silly place, y'all, but God has blessed me and I'm happy. Shaka, come on, get that Cash App up there. I want y'all to bless me for my birthday. Bless our platform for my birthday. All right. But Dr. Weah, again, as I said, I'm excited. And this is what we're going to do because we got 5 of Dr. Weah's books that we are giving away, sponsored by the Chop Shop. We're going to sow into this great woman of God's ministry. So this is what I need you to do in order to qualify for one of the 5 books. I need you to tag 5 people in the broadcast. Shaka is going to be watching. So the first 5 people that we see tag 5 people in the broadcast are going to win one of the books, Leading with a Left Hand. Now I got an autographed copy being delivered to me. So y'all can't be as special as me. I got an autographed copy coming. But listen, y'all, because it's one thing to get people on your platform and talk. We want to sow into people. When we had Bishop Jason Nelson with his new book on, we bought 15 other books, and I gave those away to every leader in my church. We got Dr. Weah on. We going to bless. When we had Kanita Washington on, we gave 5 books away. I need y'all to tag 5 people. I already see. Okay. Some of the regulars is on it. Erica ain't playing with y'all. And while we get started the conversation, Shaka is going to monitor this, and then Shaka is going to let us know who our winners are, and we're going to come back to them and let them know how you're going to get your book. But Dr. Weah, Leading with a Left Hand, I was instantly taken by the title. For me, we got to a place in the street where we wouldn't accept a handshake from a left hand. There's some street organizations that only use the left hand as a way to signify that they are part of that organization. In the church, we talk about giving the people the right-handed fellowship. So you immediately intrigued me when I saw Leading with a Left Hand. Can you, without giving away too much, because we want people to buy and read this book, can you tell us a little bit about what led to just a book? What should we expect from this book? That's the wrong Cash App shop. Get the Chop Shop Be More. You good, Doc? I'm sorry.
Okay. So, leading with the left hand. I'm left-handed, but the book is not necessarily for left-handed people. But understanding that if you're born left-handed, then your strength is in what is perceived by others as the weak place. So all of us have perceived challenges or real challenges, issues, weaknesses that we think may actually disqualify us, or they're actually challenges for us as leaders. But the book is talking about how once you recognize your context, whatever it is, whatever the challenge, whatever the issue, you really can strategize and adjust so that the world can work for you and you can walk in strength and power even with a left hand. So there are all kinds of left-handed issues. In each chapter of the book, I go through some different kind of left-handed issues that I have dealt with in my own life, in my personal life, in my public life, in my pastorate, in my health. And they're common issues that so many of us deal with. And I talk about some stuff that we really don't talk about. There are things we don't talk about and that everybody's going through. And so I deal with these issues really from a sermonic viewpoint, because I introduce each chapter setting the context from my life, but then the points and strategies that I suggest are taken from sermons that I've actually preached that really speak to it. So it's all rooted in the word. But the thing I really love about the vision that God gave me for the book is that it's not just for any one type of leader. It can hit anybody wherever they are. Even leaders who are leading organizations that are not necessarily sacred organizations. It speaks to everybody.
The sense of kingdom purpose that we see now is definitely taking us way beyond just the box or the four walls of the church or any particular denomination, as we see unity being present. And you mentioned that you have this kingdom focus and kingdom approach even to the book. Talk to us about the necessity of the kingdom approach just in ministry at large. Because I'm seeing where people who limit themselves into certain spaces really limit their ability to do whatever it is God has called them to do.
Oh my goodness, you're so right. So here's a good example for you. If you're left-handed, you don't want to sit at the table to eat dinner with a right-handed person on your left side. Why? Because you don't have enough elbow room to do what you need to do. So many leaders have boxed themselves in and they're sitting on the wrong side of the table and it's not working for them, but they're trying to do things the way they've been told it has to be done, the way other people do it, the way it's always had to go. This is the time to think like a lefty and to switch it up and to reposture yourself and to come from different angles. Charles Goodman wrote my foreword. He talks about how he hated playing sports against left-handed players. Why? Because you never knew which way they were going to come at you when they got up to bat. This is the season for it. We've got to start coming from different angles. We've got to start thinking in different ways. And we need leaders who can do it without destroying themselves and destroying other people in the process.
As a boxer myself, when I was young, God gifted me with the incredible ability of to be ambidextrous. I didn't know if it came from playing drums or what it was, but I had the ability to switch up and use my other hand, and it did cause a lot of confusion. Can you deal with the principle of being ambidextrous from a kingdom or leadership perspective? You kind of did, but I want you to dig into it a little bit.
Yeah, so the word is adaptability. Can you make adjustments to adapt to fit into whatever you need to do, even if it's something that's never been done before? We have to recognize things have changed in these times, and some things are never going to change back to the way they were. This pandemic, I believe God did some incredible shifting in this season, and some folk missed it. I saw it as soon as it happened. Some things I believe, particularly with church, some of the stuff we were doing, God was even bored with. And he made us sit down and sit still and really examine ourselves and look at what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing the way we're doing it. Adaptability, being able to think from another angle, from other sides, and ambidextrous folk are able to switch back and forth. This is what we need in this time like never before.
I had an amazing conversation with somebody who has been a blessing to my life. She's working on a doctorate, recently went to Boston to do some work there as an assistant superintendent. And I told her one of the blessings to my life, she challenged me to bring some balance to my thinking. God had made me a gifted thinker, but whatever aspect of the problem or perspective I saw, or whatever angle I saw the problem from, I would go hard and attack that without taking the time to bring some balance even to my thought process before I would speak. And sometimes I would speak, I would be powerful and passionate, but I would be less informed.
Yeah.
When we start talking about being ambidextrous and we start talking about adaptability, where does balance come into that? Even whether it's talking about the balance that we must have in our thought process, or even the balance that's needed in how we approach situations to deal with or manage them, when we start talking about not just leaning on the conventional right-hand approach.
So here's one thing we all have learned over this past 18 months. Learning how to sit still and pause and think and look at things. We were not taking time to sit still and pause and really look at things. We were on overdrive. We were just going. We've got to learn how to sit, look at something, and kind of put it in a prism. Prism has all these different sides and angles to it, and every time you turn it, the light's going to hit it a different way, and you're going to see it in a different way. We've got to start taking the time to look at things from all different angles. This is part of the reason our country is in such a mess, with people angry with each other and all of the crazy stuff that's going on. People don't want to look at things from other people's perspectives and see it from other sides. It takes a secure person to do it, though, because then you've got to be willing to challenge even what you thought or how you were doing something. And part of the reason we don't want to do that is because nobody wants to admit that sometimes we are wrong. And I talk about that in the book too. We've got to be willing to make some mistakes, to correct some assumptions, to fix some things. You don't know until you stop and look at it and try some things. Everything's not going to work. I love the way Michael Jordan talks about all of the shots he missed, all the times he failed. If you don't take an opportunity to do it and have the courage to at least try, how will you know, and how will you ever become more than you are? If you only do things you know you can do and keep doing those things over and over again.
You on live with the Chop Shop. We're about at the halfway part. We're talking to Dr. Lisa Weah, the author of Leading with a Left Hand. Listen, Shaka is giving me notification right now that we still have 3 more books to give away. The way you give yourself an opportunity to win one of her books that we are sponsoring to give away is you tag 5 people in the broadcast. So go in and literally tag 5 names, the names of 5 people in the chat in the broadcast. When Shaka sees that you tagged your 5 people, you then become one of the winners of the book. Erica is a winner already. Erica was on it. Erica don't play. She's an avid supporter of the show and the platform, and so is Kim Neal. an avid supporter of the platform and the show, and two really good friends of mine. So we got 3 more books to give away. Get in the chat, tag 5 people. Let's make it happen. Dr. Weah, you were talking about something that really kind of triggered something for me from the aspect of being a new pastor, where God is really doing a work of cultural development. And what it's caused me to have to do is to go back and reread the word. I realized that well-intended people has done some miseducating in my particular life, as they gave me a traditional perspective of God's word. And as God has blessed me to be able to go in and see that there was something different than he intended. How, as we're talking about challenging the conventional right-handed ideology, how important is it that we be willing to challenge conventional ideology, even in those of us that are attempting to lead in ministry?
Man, this is powerful. First of all, I would examine it in terms of what you were just saying, how we approach our biblical text. We tend to approach a text from an understanding of what was always said, what we always thought, what we were always told. I got to sit under this great man of God who he's passed now, but when I was at Howard University, I was blessed to sit under Dr. Kane Hope Felder. And he wrote a book called Troubling Biblical Waters. And it really opened my mind and my spirit to seeing the text from different angles. In that book in particular, he points out how white people have used the text to oppress Black people, or to give us a certain inferior understanding of what the Bible says concerning us. And so he dissects things and points them out and says, wait a minute, have you considered this way? Or that perhaps it's been used in the wrong way. And so it opened me up to the possibility, and it trained me to be able to look at text differently. So one thing I think pastors need to do is be more open when they open a text, and give people more than the same thing they said last week. This is a time where people are desperate and thirsty for freshness, and God is releasing a Rhema spirit on his church right now. We really must take heed and hear what the Spirit is saying, and he will show you the text in a whole new way. Now, that's not to say to take it out of context. That's not to say to read stuff into it and eisegete it. No, but it's saying God always has a right now revelation for what the timeless word that he's given us is saying. And this is the season where we really must dig into it like we never had before. I challenge myself a lot to take a text and preach it from a different angle. So for instance, here you go. The man who was lowered through the roof, his friends lower him through the roof to get him to Jesus so he can be healed. So we often will preach it from Jesus's perspective, or we might preach it from the man's perspective. You could preach it from the 4 guys who carried the corner's perspective. You could preach it from the perspective of the other people who are in the room watching them do this. There's so many different ways to look at a text and to understand what God is saying in this moment. Another thing that we must do is not just in our preaching, but in our teaching. So the paradigm now is that you're not going to fill your church up for in-person Bible study. And so what else are you going to do? What does small groups now look like? Are they Zoom rooms? Are you now doing webinars? Are you now teaching on social media platforms? And then what are you going to do as we turn into the new year to keep it fresh, to keep it engaging? This is our challenge now. Another challenge is, how do we now engage our community in new and more powerful ways? I would suggest that some of the things we've been doing, perhaps they weren't working. I think we really need to sit down and examine, how do we get these guns off the street? How do we really stop all of these murders? What is it really going to take? When we look at the fact that the church is now open in terms of internet to the entire world, are we considering as pastors, how are we engaging those beyond our physical reach? Are our broadcasts now user-friendly for the person in China who might be up in the middle of the night and they're watching? Are our broadcasts now engaging those who may not have come to church? What do our websites look like? Is there a connection point on our websites so that people can get to know us who may never come into our building? Or can they only see how to give and watch us preach? These are the questions that pastors are pondering, and these are the things that I suggest we must look at with some lefty thinking.
We on with Dr. Lee, so we're Doc. Listen, Shaka, you ain't even got to take me off the screen. When these look like I'm looking, I'm sitting over here taking notes. This is so rich. And I do want everybody to recognize that while we may talk about how it impacts the church, the ministry, or the pastor, this is the kind of thing that every leader from every place of leadership needs to attack. Doc, you said something when we were talking in your last answer that you gave about the need for a comfortability or being comfortable in your own skin, courage, strength, and all of that to be able to go against the grain if that's where God is blessing. Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Man, you know, I do a chapter in this. The book is not, as I said, for left-handed people. It's also not a women's book, but I couldn't write about this topic and not address it somewhere in a chapter. There's a chapter called She's Not Supposed to Be Here. I talk about how we must own who we are, own our left-handedness, own whatever it is about us that makes us different, that makes us a misfit, that makes us unconventional, that makes us unconforming. Whatever it is about you, that God, understand that God made you that way, and to suppress it, to apologize for it, to try to cover it up or hide it is really an insult to the God who took the time to make you that way. He made you that way for a reason, and it's your responsibility to connect with him so that he can show you how to maximize whatever that thing is about you. There are so many misfit issues among us, and we hide them because we think we're supposed to fit in with everybody. No, whatever it is about you, own it and work it and give God the glory.
The amazing thing to me is one of the things that helped me become great in my secular job was the fact that I had a manager when I was this young, energetic kid that literally stepped to another manager and say, if you want to get the most out of Marvin, you got to let Marvin do it his way. While one of the things I struggled with as a new pastor was my desire to have some preservation of what was, to honor my former leader and other things with good intention, only to see God move people, move things, move situations, and all of that sort of thing. And I often talk about through these shows how blessed I am to feel like I'm moving into a space where I'm finally beginning to understand who I am, who God has called me to be in ministry. How important is it that we do not have God looking for us because we're too busy trying to be like the status quo? I know, right, where God has called me at. He isn't calling me to preach sin, because the people understand. Everybody in Baltimore City know that that's a haven for dope fiends. Everybody down there know it's violence and violent crime. I literally believe that where God has planted me is because I'm in that that Acts 3 place that Peter was in. Even if I ain't got money for you, if money ain't the fix, what I've received I can give to you, and that's healing through Jesus the Christ. How important is it that we don't lose, or that we allow ourselves to find who we are to do the work that God called us to do? I know that was a long question, but my brain going bananas over here. I got I'm grabbing envelopes, anything I can find, the right notes, take them in my phone. Like, this is rich.
It is so powerful to connect with and learn and develop your own voice, your own mantle, your own anointing, your own flavor, because you will never fulfill your purpose if you spend your life trying to be the next somebody else. God didn't create you to be the next somebody else. If he wanted the next somebody else, he would have cloned that person. He made you unique within yourself. There'll never be another you. There was never a you before. And you are the only one who can be you. You want to be great at something. You want to become powerful and do all these great things for God's glory. The only way to do it is to do it in your own skin. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book on David and Goliath, and I reference it a lot. I didn't reference it in my book, but it's just coming to mind right now while we're talking. David did not try to fight Goliath the way Goliath fights. He won because he fought him under his own rules. He played a different game, and he did it his way. Had he tried to step to Goliath in Goliath's way, then he would have lost. Somebody who's listening today, you have 5 stones in your pocket and you're ashamed to pull them out because you don't want anybody to know your left-handed issues, and you're trying to learn how to throw the javelin and wear Saul's armor and all that stuff, and you're wondering why you're so frustrated. Take all this stuff off, put all this stuff down, and work your stones, and you will find that you don't even need all 5 of them, because God will give you victory with the one.
You on Live with the Chop Shop, and we are talking to Dr. Lisa Weah, who is dropping some gems. She's unlocking, and I love this because conceptually she's giving us the keys. I believe when I read this book now, this isn't an excuse not to purchase or read the book, but when I read it now, she has already set the tone for my mind to be able to further embrace these concepts. We are talking about leading with a left hand, challenging the conventional wisdom and ideology of right-handedness. I do want to deal with that quote right there, because I actually put that up in the post on Facebook. When I read that, because I've been so busy, I didn't get a chance to reach out and get my book and all of that sort of thing. I like to actually have read before we bring a guest on. But when I read that, it just hit me in the head, and it says, it never occurred to me that there was anything wrong with being left-handed simply because it wasn't right. Dr. Weah.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. But now for me, that said, right, there's a whole lot about me in my own space and my own skin. And I had people tell me, because I was a late person learning to play piano and all of that. And one of my friends came to me, and I want you to deal with it right on the heels of this statement, and said, man, you just learned how to play and you can sing and play together already. I said, man, nobody ever told me it was hard.
Right. If you don't know that there's anything strange or weird or wrong or misfit about it, then you're just going to flow in it. It's not until somebody points it out to us and tries to make us out like there's something wrong, then we start to feel self-conscious about it, or, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to be this way. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this. So like the very first chapter of the book is called, Oh, You're a Lefty. And I talk about just introducing it. It never occurred to me that it was weird to be a lefty, because I write with my left hand. This is me. This is me. But then when people would say, oh, you're lefty, then you suddenly feel like you have to say something because there's like this awkward moment. You're like, oh, well, yeah, my dad's a lefty. Oh, well, Obama's a lefty. It's like you feel like you have to say something to justify it or to qualify it. No, stop justifying and qualifying to make other people feel comfortable with you. Yes, I am a lefty, period.
How important is it, the realization that that's what God gave you?
It's powerful because once you connect with that, then you have the power you need to push towards your purpose. Whatever your purpose is, until you connect with who you are, you can't fulfill it. Because you can't fulfill it in somebody else's skin. You can't fulfill it trying to use somebody else's gifts, somebody else's anointing. And so until you really understand who you are and tap into that, and yes, it may require that you look at even yourself from a different lens. Put yourself in the prism and turn it all around. Well, and this is so powerful because a lot of people give up on themselves or they go through things. And, I talk about the fire. I talk about the uprising and Freddie Gray. I talk about health challenges. I talk about family challenges. I talk about authority challenges I've dealt with as a female leader, or just as, you're a new pastor. There's challenges you have, period. When you look at those things and say, oh, okay, this has happened, so I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't know how I'm going to be able to succeed. No, everything you go through, there's something in that God is going to use to push you even further in your purpose. It's developing you. It's showing you something. His strength is made perfect in our weakness. So even the left hand being considered the weak hand, the shameful hand. You don't shake with the left hand. We don't extend the left hand to people when we're praying for them. It's always everybody stretch forth your right hand. We give people the right hand of fellowship. And, I started to wonder one day, I was like, well, will they still be blessed if I use my left hand? Will they still feel welcome if I welcome them with my left hand? Like, did it really matter which hand I used? And what if I stretch forth my right hand, but my right hand is the weak hand, then did I really bless them? So it's really examining these things and saying, you know what? I'm different and it's okay. And you know what? I will tap into my power when I own it.
When I think about it from the perspective of ministry and some of the things that you framing it out in, right? I'm literally dealing with some people who don't care about none of that, right? One of the things that I did differently is God told me to stop imparting a communion ritual at the end of a service. And if we're going to have communion service, have a communion service. And I do it very differently than what was done when I was in the church, the same church that I pastor now. And I had some discomfort with the fact that I was doing it differently, only to realize the people that are there, they don't care. They just want the part of it where they get to understand that this is a broken Jesus that was broken for you to take away your sins, and blood and the shed blood that renews your covenant. How important is it that we recognize that when we break outside of that thinking, normally the people that we're there to minister to didn't care nothing about that stuff in the first place?
Listen, people want Jesus. They came and asked the disciples, we would see Jesus. That's what they're coming for. Religion and all of this structure we've put in place was put there to keep us from being all willy-nilly and crazy with it. There had to be some kind of structure there so that we could pass a faith down through generations in some type of order, in reverence and all of that. But what we've done is we've started worshiping the religion instead of the Christ. And so when we understand that, then
don't you dare hold time out. You are not going to fly by that, because we hear people often talk about worshiping the creation and not the creator. But you just took that thing to a whole nother level. We're worshiping and reverencing the religion and not the Christ. You got to unpack that.
Absolutely, because
look at Shaka. Shaka gave the whole stank face on it. You got to break that one up.
Yeah, because we're all wrapped up in what we're supposed to do and how it's supposed to be done. We have turned our practice of religion into a Pharisaic endeavor. The Pharisees were the ones who wanted to hold on to things like circumcision. You can't be a Christian unless you first done all of the things of Judaism. You know, we've gone backwards in some regards. Instead of respecting the framework of religion, in that it's keeping us from being all, wild and out in how we're conducting ourselves. It's keeping us in a framework of reverence and order. That's what it was supposed to be used for. But we have started worshiping the structure that was in place instead of the Christ that it was put in place to help us honor. And so when we recognize that, then we realize, like, perhaps God has done something like get rid of our ability to touch each other. And, we shouldn't be shaking hands, because of the germs. So now what do we have to do? We got to do elbow bumps. So now you can't even do the right hand of fellowship. We were so married to it has to be the right hand, it has to be this way. And what did God do? He wiped it out altogether. We are not walking people through our lines now, having them shake all of our officers' hands one after the other with all this sanitizer. No, now we got to do the elbow bump. And does it matter which elbow? No. Why? Because it's not in the Bible.
We on live. We're coming down the stretch. Dr. Lisa Weah. Listen, I knew that we were going to get this because I know her, but she is giving it to us real heavy. I need you to like, love, and share. Shaka, did we get our 5th winner? I want to make sure we take care of that. We got a good audience on here. Did we get our 5th winner?
Negative, sir.
We are trying to give away a 5th book. All you need to do to qualify for the giveaway is to tag 5 people in the broadcast. My mother, my godmother, who is really my auntie, but I call her mine, Ella, is the 4th winner. We got one more book to give away. I need somebody to get in there, tag 5 friends so that they can be aware that this broadcast is happening. We are on with Dr. Lisa Weah. Doctor, we are coming down the stretch. We are about 53 minutes into the broadcast. I want you to talk to the people, to give them, I guess, I don't want to call it a synopsis, but a summary of kind of what we talked about tonight, so that people understand the purpose for God giving you this. I'm just grateful that God gave it to you, because it's the season that I'm in my life. It's the season that I'm in my pastorate. God literally has me right here where he's saying, young man of God, I didn't call you to be what was. I called you to do what I need you to do. And that challenges a lot of conventional thought and ideology. He's breaking me away from the fear of who's going to stay, who's going to go. Doc, I needed this conversation tonight. And I called myself bringing you on here to try to support you, help to push it. And God only knows he had a word for me. So talk to the people, give them your final thoughts, summarize why it's important that we be able to talk to them why it's important they go get this book.
It's so important, and thank you again for bringing me on to chat, but also for the platform to talk about the book. And I do encourage everybody to go to leadingwiththelefthand.com to get your copy. Get it for all of your leaders as well. This book is a treasure. It's a jewel, and I bless God for giving it to me. I've been trying to write this book for several years, and then I realized that every time there was an interruption, it's because God was adding to what he needed me to say and talk about. And this is the urgent time. We need courageous leaders. We need leaders who have the courage to really examine context from different angles, to look at things through a different lens, to come from another way, and then have the courage to implement new strategies and the courage to make adjustments, to own who we are and maximize all of our weaknesses, all of our quirks, all of our idiosyncrasies, all of our differences. And it's not just for misfits, but it's for everybody. It's not just for lefties, it's for everybody. It's not just for women, it's for everybody. It's not just for pastoral leaders, it's for everybody. It is a challenge, it is a treasure, and I encourage you to get it today.
Doc, I'm actually right here on the air. It's crazy because the last time I talked about you was yesterday, and it wasn't about you being on the show. I'm going to tell you the whole story. God, because people in my ministry are starting to come and say, hey, I want to lead this. I want to do this. And it was on the other side of me kind of being heartbroken in some spaces because some of the people who I thought were going to be there, that were there from the start, were blessed out of the ministry. It wasn't turmoil. It wasn't negative situations. God blessed people and moved them around, some across the country. And as a new leader, a young leader, I was just kind of disheartened, and people started rising up. And God gave me a vision to do what's called the Emerging Leaders Conference. And I saw it in the context of something that would be in my church. And I'm going to tell you the whole story because this is my show. I can talk about what I want to talk about. So I reached out to 3 people because I was clear on what they would do. One was Pastor Antoine Burton, who would talk about the impact of leadership on a developing culture because we're becoming something as a church we never was. One was Overseer Clay Burston to talk about the functionality of leadership. If you know anything about Clay got job descriptions for everybody in his church, that you understand what it is you're tasked to do, and know what it is. And the third person was Pastor Corey Bonds, because he was going to come and talk about kingdom leadership. Pastor Corey is and kingdom leadership, because Pastor Corey is a leader everywhere. Mm-hmm. Kind of like what God has blessed me to do, not just in the church. I'm a leader here, I'm a leader there, right? Because it's important. And I watched for years where people didn't lead anywhere but in the church. To me, there's something wrong with that, because if you're a leader, you're going to be leading in your job, you're going to be leading in the community. And your name came up because I felt like, I said, man, here I go. I got all these brothers. I ain't got no sisters. And the first person I thought of, I said, well, maybe I need to reach out to Dr. Weah. And then when I was talking to Clay, I said, but God didn't really he gave me clearly what it is I needed from y'all. God had it in reserve today. I need you to be a part of that. And I need the conversation of what it means to be unconventional in our thinking, being re-educated, first of all, dealing with the miseducation and being re-educated over the time that we're going to be in leadership, because the people that I talk about, and I don't know, I talk about to people why Moses wasn't allowed to go into the promised land. When Moses struck the rock, Moses literally had that Egypt, that Pharaoh's house that was in him, raise up. And God said, I'm trying to deal with my people by my word. I don't want them people to be like the generation prior, where they live according to the whip. And because Moses had that in them, you can't go into the promise. This next phase and wave of leadership is going to have to be able to not take whatever Egypt is in us into the next phase. So y'all know me, I put people on the spot live on the air. Dr. Weah, I'm asking you, I don't have dates and stuff because God convicted me about running when he gives me the vision before he gives me the capacity, which is date, time, location, and how we supposed to do it. But would you be a part of this to bring what you gave us tonight into that space so we can get what I believe is probably one of the most important components, because where we're going and leading after this pandemic cannot be from a perspective of where we were prior to God taking us into this space.
I would absolutely love to. I'm always available whenever you call, and whatever I can impart to empower leaders, I'm there.
I gotta pray now because I don't know if this just supposed to be for my leaders now. This was really gonna be an in-house thing, but I believe God may be giving us something that the kingdom needs. Um, and I'm just grateful for you tonight. I can't thank you enough. You always respond when I reach out, no matter what your calendar looks like. You make sure you make time for us. And I'm excited about the things that God is doing in your ministry. I think that we are going to bless, and we'll talk about it offline. We're going to go that next step. We got 5 books to give away. We're going to bless the leaders in the church, but we're going to sow into you because I believe the word that we need ain't out in Dallas, Texas. It ain't in the Bahamas. God rest the soul of Dr. Miles Monroe. I believe we have for too long overlooked the local voices, the great wisdom that's in the Dr. Lisa Weah, the Dr. Kevin Daniels, the overseer Clavon Burstons, the people here who God have as emerging leaders, and I'm not going to make that mistake to overlook it. So we are going to reach out. We're going to get some more books sold into our leaders. Thank you for being on tonight. I'm excited about what God is doing in your ministry and in your life.
Thank you, and happy birthday again.
Yeah. That's right. Y'all hit that cash app, the Chop Shop Be More. Give to a worthy cause on my birthday, which is this platform that keeps bringing you great people and great leaders and great conversation. I got to thank my right hand and my left hand, my main man, Mr. Shaka Pitts, always on the ones and twos, making the magic happen. Techniques 1200s to anything else is uncivilized. Shock, man, thank you. You have been the one constant throughout the year that God is over 18 months now that God has blessed us to be able to do this. And I just want you to know that I appreciate you, man, through chemo, cancer treatment, kicking cancer butt, whatever you had going on, you've been constant, man. And I believe that God is blessing us to move and grow in ways that we have not seen yet because we've committed this platform back to him. Thank you for all of my viewers. The Pitts family then took this thing over, y'all. They all did. Listen, these people down in Georgia somewhere. They are down in Georgia somewhere. I want to thank everybody that's been praying for my grandmother. My grandmother is sitting in the chair right now getting her hair done because she is on the comeback. I told her today that I just see God raising her up and healing her. And I thank God for all the fight that's been in her to keep her going. That's her y'all here talking in the background right now, getting her hair done. I'm so excited about what God is doing in her life, and that she is going to be another testimony for me as God blesses me to lead his people. And always, I'm grateful for those of you that tune in. I always say, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Of course it was. It was just nobody there to hear it. Of course it makes a sound. Nobody's there to hear it. But you guys show up. You're here still strong in number to hear this great woman of God and the purpose that God has placed in. Listen, y'all, I thought I had a clue of what it was she was going to bring, but she has just opened me up. And I'm excited to read the book. I'm excited to attend seminars. As a man of God, I touch and agree with her for everything that God is going to do. I believe that this is a kingdom word, that God is going to take her places far and beyond Baltimore to share this word. And I touch and agree with you, Doc, for everything that God is going to do. As I always, next week, I don't even know who the guest is for next week. And I ain't going to try to think on it because right now I'm excited and marinating. I'm going to give you a call, Big Wolf. I see you, man. I'm going to give you a call. I'm marinating on what we got tonight. I'll post it on the page when we figure out who we got coming on. Don't look for us Thanksgiving week. We're going to take our first break. Then we course Christmas week. We taking our winter break because we know as much as we love to do this, we got to have some time to just sit back and enjoy family. As always, I say trust God. Above everything, trust God. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him. And he, like he does for me, will direct your path. Love Baltimore. Love where you are. Don't criticize about it, complain about it, talk about it. If you're going to sit on the sidelines of do nothing and not get up and make it happen where you are. I don't care if you're not the activist that's going to have 100 people follow you. You maybe just be the one good father who has a kid down the block that doesn't have a father in his house or in his life. You take him when you take your son and let him see what a good man and real manhood is. And as always, remember, we can be more. Thank you for joining us.
Make some noise. If it's your birthday, 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 make some noise.
Happy birthday, Marv.
Baltimore style, baby.
It's your day all day, brother. All day.
Baltimore
All day.
style. Come on, if you out there, put some hearts up, put some thumbs up on this joint. Get you a little dance going. You see rocking with me dancing. Come on. Everybody, come on, have his birthday dance with me.
We cutting up on the chop shop for Marv, y'all.
Yeah. Baltimore style.
See now, I see you. Make sure you tune in every Thursday, good brother. This your type of conversation every Thursday, 6 o'clock. Good night, y'all.